following is a presentation of the High Spot Podcast. Making their way to the ring, talking about the world of professional wrestling, the team of Jeff Martin and the trendsetter Bryan Burga, the Jersey Wrecking Crew.
All right, guys, you're listening to a very special episode of the High Spot Podcast. I am Jeff Martin, alongside my tag team partner, Brian Burga. It is the Pro Wrestling Free Agent Frenzy. You listen to us on the Cheap Pops Podcast Network on Spreaker. Follow us on all our social media at High Spot Podcast. It is official. AEW is a thing, trendsetter. First and foremost, Happy New Year, and welcome, guys. You're listening to this one that we promised you for a very long time here, and it's come now. We're in the new year. Happy 2019. AEW Pro Wrestling Free Agency Frenzy, trendsetter. Amazing time.
It's an amazing time, and a happy new year to every single one of you members of the crew listening to this episode, listening to this special that we're having right here, talking about free agent frenzy. I mean, it happens in all sports right now. Why can't it happen in the world of professional wrestling? It's been talked about. It's been talked about for months. We've been talking about since probably November, since the Jericho Cruise. We've been talking about this, even way before then. So it's great to now have an idea and a solid fixture of things that we were thinking about, we were anticipating. What if this happens? What if that happens? It's all led to a head here. Now it is official. It's going to be a new league, All Elite Wrestling, AEW, Jeff. I couldn't be more excited.
We saw it late last night. We saw it into the morning of being the Elite. We saw All Elite Wrestling. It is now official, like the trendsetter was saying here. And this is what we do know. What we know now is that Cody has officially signed on to AEW, so has Hangman Page, and it looks like also SCU, like Scorpio Sky, Frank Kazarian, and Christopher Daniels. What roles will they have? It's still unknown, but we'll find out a lot more things on January the 8th, as there's going to be an official press conference. And this is a blockbuster because we've seen it coming, but now it's going to become more concrete. And as we head into the next few months, we know that there will be another All In, or should I say Double or Nothing. So we do know that in the coming months we're going to see that. When will that happen? Will it be Memorial Day? Will it be Labor Day? We don't know. It seems like we're going to find out a lot of things, trendsetter, on January the 8th.
Yes, I mean, the reality is it's official. It's going to happen. Now, in terms of the details, we will find out about that when the press conference does happen. I mean, this is something that Cody, the Bucks, Hangman, all of them have been really working towards and building towards this. So we definitely knew them diving into something like this wasn't going to be, for example, them just hoping to gain the same momentum they had from All In. They know what their audience is. They know what they're going to do in terms of targeting what type of wrestling or what type of presentation they hope to present in terms of the product. So, yeah, it'll be exciting. When it comes to when this will happen and, the build-up now where everybody's talking about it, will be a huge deciding factor because at the same time when we went back to All In, and that's the only thing we have in terms of comparison for this, Jeff, it was in a point in an era where it wasn't piggybacking or working off the momentum of anything else that, for example, WWE is doing. So I think that'll be an integral part of when they decide to do this. But hey, I'm excited, and like I said, the anticipation is growing for this press conference to see what's going to be said and all the details that you and I are hoping to find out.
Now, here are the facts. It is going to be led up by Tony Khan, who is the son of Shad Khan, the owner of the Jacksonville Jaguars. The press conference will take place at the stadium of the Jaguars. It will be in the parking lot. Of course, there will be meet and greets afterwards. So another thing, too, that we know now is that SmackDown Live is going to be doing a show just across the street or a few minutes walk from that arena that same day. So a lot of interesting factors. That's what we do know. Now, the Young Bucks are still not signed, although they say in the next 48 hours or so it should be official where they sign. Of course, they wouldn't make the announcement if they weren't planning on signing, but they still have yet to. But they will expect to do so in the next coming days. Now, if you're keeping track at home of who's going where, here we go. Let's run down first New Japan Pro Wrestling. It was made official earlier in the week that Hiroshi Tanahashi has re-signed with New Japan Pro Wrestling. So it's any question wondering what his future is going to be heading into Wrestle Kingdom, we do know now that Tanahashi is in there for the long run, and he is expected to compete for the championship against Kenny Omega, knowing that he's got a long tenure now with New Japan Pro Wrestling. Kenny Omega still don't know what his future is. We might find out more after Wrestle Kingdom. Ring of Honor, they lost a lot of guys. So this is how they replenished their roster. They signed Bandito. We saw him. That's the first time we saw him, Trendsetter, at All In. PCO signs with Ring of Honor. Brody King, Mark Haskins, and then Ring of Honor re-signs Silas Young and Beer City Bruiser. So they've tried to kind of keep everything in-house and adding a few other names. And, of course, AEW now signs Cody. The Young Bucks are expected to sign Hangman Page, SCU. What exactly will be the roles of Kazarian and Daniels, we have yet to determine. Again, we'll all find out January 8th. But do you think for one second that Ring of Honor has replenished the roster enough where they're going forward now into 2019?
Absolutely not. You look at the names, Jeff, it's impossible to replenish that. But as we spoke about it before the year ended and we're still in 2018, was the mere fact that this now gives opportunity. You have some staples there. And, of course, in my opinion, Jay Lethal, Dalton Castle, even a Marty Scurll, they'll be centerpieces for Ring of Honor down the road in 2019 because they have contracts extending. Marty had re-signed previous before all this happened, so he's going to be there for a period of time. So yeah, all you try to do is replenish your talent and now give more opportunity for younger talent, or not necessarily younger talent, but talent that hasn't been noticed in Ring of Honor. So to answer your question, no, it doesn't repair. If you lose a big free agent, a top scorer in any type of division, you can't re-sign them by signing 3 or 4 role players. We have to find out what about these individuals that have been signed to Ring of Honor, what they're going to present and bring to the table. We know kind of just from seeing them from All In, have an idea, but again, you never know when they're given that spotlight what's going to happen. So it's an exciting time in pro wrestling because now it leaves other opportunities for guys to kind of showcase their skills and talent. But right now, if you're going to ask me that question, I would say no, it doesn't solve it either. But again, Ring of Honor has worked through this scenario before. So has New Japan. It's just the way the business works. People come and go as they please, and you have to learn how to replenish it and kind of make newer stars. And this is an integral part here in 2019 where everybody gets kind of a clean slate and a fresh start. This is a perfect example of it.
Now, the TV deals have been thought about that they were already signed, but they're still negotiating. There will be a lot of interest in it because they did sell out a 10,000-seat arena in less than 30 minutes. So interest from whether it's other kind of cable channels or whether they're thinking about moving to Tuesday night, now knowing that SmackDown's moving to Friday night coming up in October as they sign with Fox, that big deal with Fox. You wonder where exactly they are going to end up, but I think that it is necessary for them in order to compete or whether to be sharing that piece of pie within Impact Wrestling and a Ring of Honor, how important a cable deal is for All Elite Wrestling.
Well, at this stage right now, a cable deal it's huge to be part of some type of network where people can see your product because it doesn't matter how good you are. If there's nobody there to see you, then, the whole analogy of a tree falls in the woods doesn't make it sound. It's kind of the same thing. Only people in that general area are going to know what happened. And, with social media and the powerful tools that it is, word spreads around faster nowadays. But still, with having that lucrative deal with a cable network or some type of network to kind of promote and broadcast your product, it's huge for them right now. But again, you look at the Fight app, you look at Fight TV and what they've done and how they were able to promote, All In. Is it necessary? Yes and no. Because yes, I think it's necessary because if this is starting something new, you want to be somewhat substantial. You want to kind of have some credibility behind it. But Is it 100% vital? I don't know, because I think the day and age now, and we've had discussions like this before with certain guests on the show, that what's the future of cable television? Because everything right now is streaming live. So I think in the future that might be the direction to go. But yes, a cable signing some type of lucrative deal with a cable company or a network right now would be a great step in the right direction for AEW.
Impact Wrestling's moved now, once again, after they had some stability on Pop TV, they've moved now to a questionable new destination, and that is the Pursuit channel. So not a lot of households have that. They are going to lose a lot of viewers because they're just, there's just less access to this channel. Now, for them to choose Tuesday night is going to be very interesting because, of course, it's going to go head-to-head. We don't know yet, but it might go head-to-head with SmackDown, or maybe it goes on, at a 10 p.m. or a 9 p.m. What do you think would be the proper time for them to do? Should they get that run after SmackDown Live, or do you think that's just too late to do that? Something at 10 p.m. What do you think would be the ideal time slot to put something like this?
Well, the ideal time slot would have to be around that 8 o'clock 8 o'clock Eastern time. Because, for me, at least from a fan standpoint, once you reach the point of 9 or 10 o'clock, you're kind of worn out. They've done the experiment, especially even within WWE, with the Cruiserweight Classic and, 205 Live. It just doesn't work. You don't have that same feel. You don't have that same atmosphere. When you move it now to a different time slot or a different day, you have more of ability for when people want to see it.
Ring of Honor tends to want to be have you exclusive. They kind of want you to be just wrestling for Ring of Honor, unless you're into those kind of things where you're on loan or you're doing a deal, or whether you're signed to New Japan and you come and you're co-branded. You come on both shows, so it doesn't seem like they're going to get the help of Ring of Honor. And you were talking about before, and the big point was that everyone should be working together, especially when they want to get that piece of the pie. So it looks like they want to work with New Japan Pro Wrestling, and we'll see what happens in the future. But now there's also talking that there's more people that will be signed, that there will be more news breaking out. Maybe after that press conference, we will find out exactly who will be there. But let's talk about some people out there that weren't all in. And if there's a few people that you would love to get signed from All In, which is where they're targeting a bunch of that talent, who would be a few people that you maybe would be interested in signing for this new promotion, All Elite Wrestling?
Well, first person that pops in my head, Jeff, is MJF. To me, he has the perfect persona in terms of you wanting to build yourself around a pure heel. He's really good. I think his talent will take him eventually either to Impact or some type of promotion where now he has the ability to be showcased more. So he's the first person that pops in my head. What about you?
I would think that, unfortunately, due to injury, though, I think another guy that was primed to do something, whether it would be signing full-time to some promotion, I would say Joey Janela. I mean, this would be a perfect guy for All Elite Wrestling to sign, because this is a guy that makes news. There is buzz around him, and until he got injured, I mean, he was doing great things with GCW here locally in Jersey. And, of course, now his two shows coming up during WrestleMania weekend have sold out. So there's still plenty of buzz for Joey Janela. Do you take the chance and do you sign him knowing that he's still injured? Listen, it would be great because he'd pay his medical bills. It's tough when you're an independent contractor. You don't have insurance, so you're basically paying out of pocket for all these injuries. So that is why tons of respect goes out to these wrestlers. So would it be great to invest in Joey Janela? I'd look into it. I mean, wrestlers tend to heal faster than normal, especially when they know that that's their livelihood, so they'll come back faster. Now, it was a devastating injury to Joey, but is that some guy that you would invest in knowing that he is coming off an injury?
Definitely. I mean, everybody knows what I feel about Joey Janela. I think he's great. I think he has a good mind for the business from what he's done in terms of his promotions. They've sold out and they've been so extremely successful, Jeff. But here's my thing. When it comes to, and we've talked about this before in the past, about your in-ring style. If you were to sign somebody like a Joey Janela, my big thing would be like, all right, does the style you do in the ring right now currently the only way you can market yourself to be profitable to me as a company? Can I really trust in you to remain healthy? Now, granted, he's done that till this injury that occurred, but he's always been playing with fire. When you play with fire enough times, you're going to get burned. So, yeah, I mean, more for, like, for example, MJF, the reason why I lean towards him is because he does more by doing less, and that's why I kind of, lean towards him. But if we're going to talk about people who are very athletic, Matt Cross also falls into that mindset. If we look about All In, he hasn't really been given that type of opportunity, and people could say, he's in the twilight of his career now, or he's leaning towards that direction still. I think he has a lot more gas in the tank. A great look, great appeal, great mind as well. We've spoken to him several times before, what he could do. I could see him being part of a company like this and really elevating himself, because he's done great stuff with Lucha Underground and the seasons they've had with him on it, and what he's done in the independent scene. Matt Cross is somebody I would also think about trying to include in this group.
Yeah, really, a lot of names still out there. Of course, now Ring of Honor, of course, as soon as they knew what the future were going to be of the Bucks and Cody and everybody else that was leaving, they kind of went in and kind of wanted to sweep up and replenish the roster, because they're definitely losing a lot. But like I said, like you said too, you have still a guy like Matt Taven. You've got the Kingdom there. You can make stars. They always seem to replenish, but it's going to be
that's the nature of the business. You have to replenish. If you don't replenish, and Ring of Honor has been here for a while, Jeff. Yeah. It's not their second go around, their first go around. They've had scenarios, what I mentioned before, especially in New Japan too, where they've lost major stars. Where do we think New Japan was going to be, Jeff, after AJ Styles Shinsuke Nakamura, Gallows and Anderson, all of them left simultaneously around the same time. Who thought that New Japan was going to survive? But then you had Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks, and it went even to bigger heights. So it is possible. Does this happen all the time? No. But at the same time, if you're a company as reputable as New Japan or Ring of Honor, you're going to learn how to survive without those stars.
Impact Wrestling, do they take a hit? Because there were rumors swirling, that they had asked AEW to buy Impact Wrestling. So, then there's the denial that AEW was not interested. Do you think Impact Wrestling, it made such great strides, and, honestly, it was in my top 5 of making it as far as comebacks of the year, because we said NWA. But Impact Wrestling made such great strides, especially, that Slammiversary pay-per-view. Mm-hmm. I would say, concretely, I can't find a single person to talk bad about that show. But what do you think now is the impact for Impact Wrestling now that a promotion like AEW could maybe be looking to sign some of the wrestlers maybe to bigger deals?
Well, I think it affects them, Jeff, if they sign those stars on Impact to AEW and they're exclusively now to AEW. I think in that respect it hurts them. But if, a majority of the superstars that are on Impact Wrestling have deals with Impact, but also go on the indie scene or work other promotions. So they're not exclusively to Impact, but they work majority of their schedule around what Impact does in their tapings. So I think if that type of deal happens, it doesn't really, pun included here, it doesn't really impact Impact Wrestling too much. But we start getting into the scenario where I think this was the main reason, I feel at least, in my personal opinion, of why the Young Bucks or Hangman or especially Cody decided to go to this new route with AEW All Elite Wrestling, was that they didn't want to be exclusive to anybody else but themselves. So this gives them that ability. So that's going to be the turning point if it becomes AEW starts signing these stars from Impact or Ring of Honor or New Japan and become exclusive just to that. That's where I could see an issue not working itself out. But I would feel, Jeff, and I want to get your opinion on this, that with this new promotion, as great, as much momentum is going to be backed behind it, though, you would think all collectively they would all work together to make this even better, because they would only be helping each other in the collective circle of these promotions to make them even bigger and have more people talk about them.
Yeah, I've got a feeling that
the Buffalo's going to the Super Bowl?
Buffalo's going to the Super Bowl. Not this year, at least, but I've got a feeling, and it's funny how we talked about this feeling, right? That everyone kind of has talked within each other. I believe that, yes, while Ring of Honor has lost a bunch of wrestlers, and they are the only ones right now that I see are signing exclusivity deals, you've got tons of other wrestling promotions. I mean, like I said, Impact Wrestling. Then we go to AEW now. New Japan Pro Wrestling, which is definitely making their charge here into the United States.
I would include MLW in there,
and
too.
Exactly. Let's not forget about MLW and how they come into play because they are actually going to be now, they're going to be in Florida. They're going to be in Philly soon. Mm-hmm. They've got the deal with beIN Sports. They have a TV deal. The word of mouth is growing, and they don't seem to be taking a step back or a backseat to anybody.
No, they're going full force straight ahead.
So you have a bunch of these promotions, you have a bunch of these wrestlers, and I believe that there is maybe a understood agreement that they are all going to work together.
Yeah, and I think if that happens, then there's going to be tremendous success for AEW, as well as all the other promotions we just talked about. Another person that just popped in my head, Jeff, is somebody, who you think of MLW, you think of Shane Strickland. What a great addition that would be to an AEW in terms of getting that type of notoriety and exposure to. Another talented person we've had a chance to have on the show. We've spoken to him a couple times. We've seen him in live events. This guy can go and do great things. So I think it's an exciting time, Jeff, from a fan's perspective at least. We talked about it a lot in 2018. This is a new type of evolution of what professional wrestling is going to be. But I hope that what you just said, that I hope it's going to be more of them all collectively working together and not just All Elite Wrestling trying to be its own separate entity. Because I think if you try to do that, in my opinion, you're kind of setting yourself up a little bit for failure. And at the same time, you're kind of isolating yourself to the point where you have so much talent around right now in the world of professional wrestling outside of WWE that, you'd be a fool not to use it all.
where would you think would be the best time to put Double or Nothing? Because what I noticed too is I saw the StarCast logo on the bottom corner. I saw StarCast is involved. Double or Nothing. Would you rather see this Labor Day weekend or Memorial Day weekend?
I was thinking about that before we started this episode. That's a tough one, man, because like Memorial Day, I would like it, but a lot of people have other plans. But again, we thought kind of the same way during September. I think more from a nostalgia feeling, you'd want to do it around that time because that's when All In was. Labor Day, yeah. Memorial Day, it's kind of iffy. So for me, Labor Day is kind of where I would want it to happen. But, what about you? What do you think? Memorial or Labor Day?
Listen,
for this one?
Personally, for me and my wallet, I'd much rather be on a Labor Day, which is the end of summertime, because I get a chance to. There's so much stuff going on. You have no idea the plans for the High Spot podcast this coming year. So there's a lot of stuff, to pay. Even the holiday stuff, the worst part about January is that the bills for the holidays start coming in, right? So
you didn't spend that much.
Well, it's a thought that counts, right?
Exactly.
So yeah, I'd much rather have it in September.
Thanks for the gift card too. I appreciate it.
Gift cards, all about gift
Love
cards.
Applebee's. Free plug there.
Memorial Day is great too, but I think that you want. See, here's the thing though: if they're gonna be their own promotion, there's gonna be tons of pay-per-view events now. There's gonna be, it's not just gonna be a one-time thing. Now they could do it in the beginning, maybe 4 pay-per-views a year, and have the episodes. But
because ideally you think they want to start small, not go to 12 pay-per-views right away.
And that's, to me, you want to start off small here. But again, though, if a guy like Tony Khan here, who's the son of a billionaire, and obviously they've got the funds. We'll see if they go all in, and no pun intended there, on TV production and pay-per-view. You can easily do it on an app, on the Fight app, or you can stream it. But we will see that. But I personally would love to have it in Labor Day. A lot of signs point to it, though, Memorial Day in May. Now, if you think about it, you had some time to plan ahead when they were announcing it for September. But now you have a chance to, you do have 5 months, to make your plans to go to this. But I wonder, do you think it's going to be another weekend like StarCast, or do you think it's just going to be the event itself?
It's hard to say. I think it might be the event itself, but it would be best, it would behoove them to do a weekend thing like that. And also, when we really look at Memorial Day, of course we want Labor Day, because it's towards the end of summer, and like Jeff said, we have some bills to pay, and it's going to be very chaotic if it's in May, but that wouldn't be a bad idea as well, because, for example, once April's done, WrestleMania is done, people are craving more wrestling after WrestleMania, because that's when, storylines tend to fade down, and there's like a lull period, basically, where you're not really interested so much anymore. So if you can kind of jump off of that, kind of like what the XFL is doing with the NFL, the XFL in 2020 is going to come in the month right after the Super Bowl. Maybe you can gain some momentum that way. So that's also a good idea as well.
Again, too, though, the only downside is you're coming off of Mania, so you're making that investment to go to Mania. People are going to have to choose either between Mania and Double or Nothing here? That's going to be tough. Because Jericho was thinking about doing the same cruise kind of during the same time during Mania, and one of the drawbacks was like he didn't want you to have to choose, and it was tough to have to drop Mania and then pay for the cruise, so that's why he pushed it back. I'm wondering if maybe May doesn't work, because if Mania is we're just coming off of Mania, can the fan afford to do an April and May trip? Because this is not a show up for the event thing. If you're flying in, because obviously that's what they want to do, because they're grasping the fan, that experience that everyone came from all over the world to see this. You're not going to be able to God bless you if you can, but you're not going to be able to do Mania and then fly off to LA or Vegas or Jacksonville, wherever this is going to be. So it's going to be tough, Trendsetter. That's why I think September was ideal. But we'll see what happens, though.
We will see.
Location-wise, I just mentioned Vegas, L.A. When we were talking to Cody, and he had mentioned L.A., do you think that's where it's going to be? I see the poker chip. I see Double or Nothing. And there's only one place where you go all in, and I think
Saskatchewan, Wyoming, exactly.
Saskatchewan, Wyoming, exactly. But other than that, I do think Vegas would be the place to do it. What are your take? I love Chicago. I would love for it to happen in Chicago again. But going by the logo, do you think it's Vegas?
I still think it's Los Angeles. But yeah, you're right. It leans more towards Vegas in terms of the chip, Double or Nothing. I think it's a great idea. It's basically Las Vegas, Nevada, Sin City, it sells itself basically when you want to have an event down there too. All the amenities that are down there too in terms of walking down the strip and having an event there just reek, oh, please do so. But I'm not sure. I don't know. The more you talk about it and the more you've presented it to me, I'm kind of leaning towards that's the direction it's going to go. And, it'd be smart for them to try to do that too, because we both know, and you and I have talked about this before, right? Once the Las Vegas builds that new stadium for the Raiders, when they finally come over and become the Las Vegas Raiders, you definitely know WrestleMania is going to be there pretty soon as well, too. So why not kind of jump the gun and kind of get there ahead of time and establish yourself there? Well, not that that's going to be the place where they establish themselves, but, start hitting those audiences. They've done Chicago already. It's a great place. We had fun there. But maybe try a new environment. Los Angeles, we've known, California's been a great spot when you've done the G1 special, so that would make sense as well. Las Vegas is kind of up there. It's a wild card in a way, but again, a good one to have, a good one to kind of think of that it could be a possibility. Say I would. I don't know if I want to go to Vegas twice a year, Jeff, but it's pretty exciting when you think about it. And I think it could work there because Ring of Honor has done events there too, and they've been quite successful.
Oh, of course, yeah. They do their one of their pay-per-view shows over there, and Vegas is a great town. You're going to get the tourism. You're going to get people there. And I think right now people are so excited. They're going to follow this wherever. I just think right now the main question is when are they going to have the event, whether it's going to be once a year, whether it's going to be twice a year, whether it's going to be, once every month. You don't know that yet, but right now Double or Nothing is the next event. I would say I would want it in September. So, we're going to find out January 8th. More answers are going to be given towards this AEW. But
more answers or more questions we're going to have for them?
More answers. I really do. Of course, they're going to want to, keep you guessing with the questions too. So there's going to be a lot of buzz, man. Listen, it just the new year started off so well here on the High Spot Podcast, and this is the Pro Wrestling Free Agent Frenzy. So those are the signings. Before we wrap up here and just get to a few more odds and ends, the Young Bucks not signing. Is that something that's surprising? I'm a little surprised, but maybe they just had their contract, kind of couldn't do it till maybe the 3rd or the 4th, and they had to sign then, or maybe they're waiting for that sweet deal from WWE at the final second. But it doesn't look like that. It doesn't look like that's what they're about. I think they're about being into this promotion, and I really do think that they'll sign soon enough here.
I think part of it's showmanship. I think it's leveraging the best deal you possibly can get. I think all signs point that it's going to eventually happen, like you mentioned before. Within the next couple of days, we'll find out better. And I think, at this point right now, you couldn't have been any hotter until you get, the final hour where you get that deal from WWE. But like you've mentioned before, and like they've kind of mentioned it, themselves, the Young Bucks, in joke and jest. But at the same time, if what you want to promote is professional wrestling, as much as I'm a huge fan, I've been a fan ever since I was a kid, watching WWF at the time, and now it's WWE. You're not going to get that type of wrestling and watching that type of product anymore. It's not like that anymore. It's sports entertainment with quotation marks. It's more about in terms of telling stories. And it's not about the in-ring action anymore. And I think, it's funny, Jeff and I were watching a couple of episodes on YouTube of, how New Japan Pro Wrestling builds up their promotions and the recount, and you guys check it up on YouTube for you plug there for New Japan. We're not getting any royalties off of that, but wouldn't hurt. But it's amazing. The in-ring action's a lot different when you saw AJ Styles in New Japan than you see him now in WWE. It's slightly different. So I don't think that's all what they're about. And I think they also feel, too, they would get lost in the shuffle as well. So why get lost in the shuffle when you can create your own damn pond? I think that's going to eventually happen. They'll dot their I's and cross their T's down in the next couple of days, and it'll all be done, and we won't be talking about it anymore.
All right, so a few more things to discuss. There's still one big free agent out there that could change the landscape to just epic proportions. We're going to get to that, and also some other free agents that recently have left a certain Impact Wrestling that we're going to get to real quick. But first and foremost, guys, follow us on all our social media at iSpot Podcast. Also, leave a 5-star rating on iTunes. We're on Spreaker, iHeartRadio. So any kind of places where you can find podcasts, we are there. Also want to thank the Shining Wizards and B Plus Player Radio Networks as well, and the G-Pops Podcast Network, and also this special episode of Free Agent Frenzy is brought to you by Collar and Elbow. Yes, the holiday season is over, but you can still get 60% off on certain merchandise there. Just go to collarandelbow.com, and also if you want to save an extra 10%, you can just put in the promo code HighSpotPodcast, all in caps. So we want to thank Collar and Elbow as we head into 2019. They are still on board here with us. Trendsetter, there's a big fish out there still available, and this is one that could change the landscape. Now, when we went to Bound for Glory...
I understand you're mammals, Jeff. It's a whale. It's not a fish.
It's a whale. We went to Bound for Glory, and we were kind of expecting this guy to kind of make a presence felt because of the ties that he has with Don Callis and Scott D'Amore. But Chris Jericho could hold could be a huge factor in all of this if he decides to join AEW, whether it's a contributor, whether it's a booker. But if he joins as a wrestler, and I know at Wrestle Kingdom he takes on Naito, he defends his IWGP Intercontinental Championship, but that's it. He's done with all his commitments to New Japan. Is this somebody that we could see on January the 8th? And just what would be the factor? I think it would be huge. But, man, just your thoughts on the factor that Chris Jericho could be here in AEW. I'm
not going to lie to you. I thought you were going to be talking about another Canadian from Winnipeg, not necessarily Chris Jericho. That could be a huge free agent as well. It could turn the tide tremendously after Wrestle Kingdom. But you're right. Chris Jericho is a huge whale as well. He's a GOAT, the greatest of all time. How impactful can it be, Jeff? It would be tremendously impactful. With his following and his ability in terms of his stardom and his star power, it would be amazing. And I'm sure a lot of people at this day and age would never think it would happen. Nobody ever thought he would work for another promotion outside of WWE, but New Japan happened. The Impact scenario became more of a realization or more of a possibility. But now with this new promotion here and the momentum it's going to get in, we're on the boat, Jeff. We saw how influential it is when you see Chris Jericho as the host, the master of ceremonies, as he calls himself, talking to then the Bullet Club, now the Elite. And he's so excited that he actually wanted to be part of the intro of the Elite. He just has so much excitement.
He's been rejuvenated, I think.
Been rejuvenated by their enthusiasm for the business and what they're doing. So I think that carries itself over, and I think it's a huge possibility that could happen. If it does, my God, we're never going to see Chris Jericho ever again in WWE, which is not a bad thing.
This affects his relationship with Vince?
That I don't know. And at the same time, if Vince is going to be that type of bitter type of person, I think he's got other things to worry about than where Chris Jericho is signing. Or, is this going to affect him now being in the WWE Hall of Fame? I don't know. At this point now, I think Chris Jericho could care less because he's not all about that. He doesn't care about being in the Hall of Fame. He doesn't want a ceremony. He doesn't want a grand vignette of all his great accomplishments because he knows that already. He knows who he is as a person. This would be huge in terms of Jericho being there. The only downfall is that, all this happened now, and, Chris is going to hate me for saying this, but it's kind of happened towards the tail end of his career now. How many more times is he going to be in the ring? I don't know. Granted, probably maybe a couple more years, as long as he feels good doing it, but you have to say that window is slowly closing. And, man, if this happened maybe, who knows, 5-6 years ago, huge different story. But, again, it wouldn't have the same momentum as it does now. So all those things play in my mind, but it would be a huge signing. Definitely would change the landscape.
Well, you talked about Kenny Omega before, and I
didn't say his name. You just said his name.
Well, that's who you're referring to. Obviously, Kenny Omega. That's somebody that I just wonder if he's going to go in between New Japan and AEW. I don't know if he'll be full-time there. I don't know. I think he will be a part of there. I think he will wrestle there. So I think it's inevitable that he does sign somehow or that he does join the Elite there because they're together. So I just, I'm wondering if Kenny is ready to make the move to the States, if he's willing to do that, if he still has to change the world more in New Japan. So at first I was kind of wondering, maybe Kenny loses his time at Wrestle Kingdom, but now I'm not really sure because he could be able to do both. So I think it is inevitable. And then I wonder about Marty Scurll. Marty, I don't know how long he signed to Ring of Honor, whether people say 6 months to a year to 2. I think he will eventually go with his friends to AEW too. So that is my feelings right now. He now maybe maybe he does get that push. Maybe he does main event that MSG show at the G1 Supercard. Maybe he gets that chance against Jay Lethal. You never know. That would be so great for Marty Scurll because it just makes him bigger. It makes him finally get that spotlight on him because he did kind of take a little step back, or the spotlight to the back seat when he joined Bullet Club because he wasn't the guy.
No, I get your point there, Jeff, but let me ask you a question about Kenny Omega real quick for a second.
Yeah.
It's like, what is he more viable to? What's more essential for Kenny to get the recognition he deserves, or the recognition we feel he's initially getting now? I mean, he was number one on PWI and Wrestling Magazine as the one wrestler of the year.
And we could have made him with Cody.
Exactly, and we didn't, and we got a lot of flack on that. I'm joking. But do you think it's more important that he stays in New Japan, or he goes to All Elite Wrestling?
I think it's
to help All Elite Wrestling, since it's starting up. Do you think it's more important for him to go there or stay with New Japan right now, what he's currently doing?
I think it would be a great coup for AEW to get him full time, but I think that if it was up to him and he had to choose, I think he would do both. I think that's what he wants to do. And I thought that he was going to make the commitment and come to the States and be full-time for AEW. But if they do want to work in New Japan, then I see that, Kenny, does he live in Japan now? Or does he?
That I don't know. Okay. I don't really talk to Kenny that much anymore. but to answer my question though, Jeff, what do you think he's more viable, in New Japan or All Elite Wrestling?
All Elite Wrestling.
Okay.
Because I think that when he comes here to the States, it's like a Brock Lesnar showing up to a Raw. It's like once in a while. So when you do see him, it's like, wow, it's wow, I'm watching Kenny Omega. That's the first time I felt when I saw him in New Orleans. I was like, wow, I'm actually seeing Kenny Omega, right? So, when you walk away, it does make the heart grow fonder. But I think that the U.S. crowd needs to know Kenny Omega, and I don't think a lot of people do know Kenny Omega. But does he still want to do that for New Japan? Does he want to be the face of New Japan coming into the U.S. if they're going to come here eventually later on this year?
Well, he's kind of aired his grievances in New Japan as well. I mean, on the boat, he didn't sound as happy in terms of the way the promotion was leading and how in the direction he wanted to go in, because Kenny was more about creating that bridge between New Japan and the United States audience. And at least from my perspective, Jeff, and I want to get your take on this. When I heard him talk about it, and we've heard him in recent interviews talk about New Japan and him being the face and changing the world and all that stuff, though, for me at least, when we saw him on the boat doing the podcast with Chris Jericho and the rest of the Elite, he kind of had the thing where, like, it doesn't seem to me at least he has the sense that New Japan is on the same wavelength as he is in terms of crossing over and creating that appeal.
Yeah, I would agree so. I'd say that he wears his emotions on his sleeve, and he was very transparent with his lack of where the Bullet Club was going, because he said that the direction that they want to take Bullet Club and where they wanted to take him wasn't the same way. That's why they ventured off, and now they're the Elite. Mm-hmm. So I think just on that too, that they couldn't come to agreement of somehow to compensate the Elite for all that Bullet Club stuff that they help sell. I think also too it's a new direction. So maybe now New Japan wants to go back to having like a guy like Jay White be the face of their main stable, which is Bullet Club. Or
Tanahashi, because he just signed a deal, and maybe they say, hey, maybe we'll go back to old school being cool again in the sense.
So it's going to be interesting, and that's what I'm saying. Like, 2019 started off with such a bang, man. The announcement of All Elite Wrestling. So let's go back now real quick. Let's go all the way back to the top. For you guys listening to the show, it was announced All Elite Wrestling is a thing now. It is official, and you've got Cody, the Young Bucks, Hangman Page, and SCU being at the forefront. Now, this is speared by Tony Khan, the son of Shad Khan of the Jacksonville Jaguars. So it is going to be an announcement on January the 8th, a huge press conference and a meet and greet afterwards where they will announce more things. But we do know that Double or Nothing is going to be the next event for the company. When, where, how much? All that stuff should be answered. How long? All that should be answered on the 8th or going forward. Obviously, you could see the StarCast onto the side of one of the logos. Will it be a weekend thing? Who knows? But we do know Double or Nothing is the next event. We do know now, New Japan Pro Wrestling, Wrestle Kingdom, Tanahashi has re-signed with the company. So now for the IWGP Heavyweight Championship, it's going to be Kenny and Tanahashi. Now, is Kenny committed to New Japan, or will that be a factor if he goes to AEW, whether he holds on to that IWGP Heavyweight Championship too? Ring of Honor, they've signed Bandito, PCO, Brody King, Mark Haskins. They've re-signed Silas Young, Beer City Bruiser. They've got guys like Matt Taven, Jay Lethal, Marty Scurll. How do they go forward now as they have their first pay-per-view on the 13th in Honor Reigns Supreme? We're going to find out. But the big story, trendsetter here on this Free Agent Frenzy special is that AEW All Elite Wrestling is now another place for the wrestling guys out there that have, busted their butts for so long can go to, and that is a great thing for the business.
It's funny, we were talking about individuals when we mentioned this whole Free Agent Friendly show that we wanted to do for you guys and listen to on the High Spot Podcast, and little did we know that a new promotion was going to be born. And that was the countdown, guys. The countdown all led to that, which you saw on New Year's, and like I said, hope you guys had a wonderful New Year's. But that was what it was all about. That's what we anticipated. That's what rumors were talking about. And now it is a reality.
Yeah, and
does it compete with WWE? Who knows? And I don't think that's the point. I don't think anybody really cares about the fact, is this going to go up against WWE? No, it's a new promotion now. But I've never seen excitement for a new promotion because I think of all the excitement, all the allure, and all the great feelings that were all in Chicago, Illinois. I think this is more of anticipation and excitement to see what can be and what the future holds here in 2019, as we talked about towards the tail end in our wrap-up show for the year, where it's going to lead in 2019. We've had several guests on talking about, oh my goodness, this could happen, or that could happen, this would be interesting, and that would be interesting. Now it is once a reality, guys. We're not talking about individual stars now signing for promotions and going back and forth. Now, it's a whole new league. It's a whole new ball game in the world of pro wrestling. So if you're a fan or you've just jumped into it, you are jumping into it at the very best time to ever jump into it with social media, with the ability to access this and the ability to look at things from different lights and different perspectives. And how I use the great analogy, Jeff, it's like Baskin Robbins. So if you're sick of vanilla and chocolate, go try another one of those 29 other flavors. Here you have it, Jeff.
You have the machine in WWE. You have Ring of Honor. You have New Japan. You have AEW, All Elite Wrestling. You have MLW and all your other local promotions around the United States. And wrestling is just at an all-time boom right now. And we, as the High Spot Podcast, are so happy to be able to cover this and give you a Free Agent Frenzy show. Never thought that would ever happen too. But if the NFL, NBA, NHL can do their Free Agent Frenzy, so can pro wrestling. And I think it was a great idea by us to do so and get you up to date. It's been a groundbreaking day today because we found out earlier today of All Elite Wrestling, Double or Nothing. So many questions. And before we close, Trendsetter, I just want to say 2019 is going to be amazing. Looking forward to it. Remember, the press conference is on January the 8th. And make sure for a brand new episode of the High Spot Podcast this coming Friday, we will have your Wrestle Kingdom preview as well as Impact Wrestling's Homecoming. Friday and Sunday are those shows. So much wrestling to cover here at Trendsetter. Looking forward to it with you, my tag team partner. And, of course, follow us on all our social media, High Spot Podcast, and go to highspotpodcast.com for the all latest news on our show.
Yes, keep to date with all the shenanigans Jeff and I are doing here because we are the Jersey Ranker. You guys have been listening to the High Spot Podcast. Free Agent Frenzy edition, guys. Thank you so much. We hope you had a wonderful New Year's. Thank you guys so much for listening. We really appreciate it. Remember, the message is always the same. We do this for one reason and one reason only. We do this for you, the crew.